let's start right here. The ignition switch. Most of these wires will be depinned and not used. Okay, so what you wanna do is just disconnect all of the connectors and keep track of where they are. So we will now put this aside, and here we have those connectors. Now this one that goes into the steering column we don't need, so we will need this big one, this little one with green wires, green and green white, and this one right here with this bunch of wires. Now the thing is, most of these wires won't be used. They will be removed from the connectors and only few wires will stay. I suggest that everything you unplug, just mark it somehow, so if you can't remember where it goes, you have it all written down. I will use some tape and write on it where these connectors go. I'll take those connectors and put a piece of tape around them so they don't get separated, but I can continue working and not forget what these are. Now if you want your car that you are putting this engine in, if you want it to turn on with this kind of key, with this ignition switch, you might need this steering locker. Now I say you might need it because there is a lot of emulators to buy online that replace this unit. If you don't want to spend money, they are not really expensive, but if you don't want to spend money, you can put this under your dash or something, but have in mind this is a relatively big piece of steel and it is not really light, so if you are into saving every gram, you would want to get an emulator. But if you want to start your car via original ignition switch in the car that you are swapping, you don't need this, so you can just remove it. I will trace these ignition switch wires to around here. This is not important, but just to leave some length on the wires when I cut them. Now let's get those wires out. Let's see. Okay, so I will trace these green wires to the passenger side of the car, just to get some more length out of them. I have cut those wires, they won't be needed. I pulled out these green and green-white CAN wires, so we will need those. These main power wires to the ignition switch, we will need just the two of them, but I've cut them all. From this little connector we will definitely need this red wire, so I will cut it somewhere a bit farther. Okay, cut. Now let's pull it out. Okay, and then all these other wires I will cut a bit closer. It's the next day. Yesterday was a bit noisy, so I decided to stop filming and continue today. So I left off right here. So these are ignition switch connectors, the ones we will need for the swap. All that is left now is this connector. As I said, you need only the red wire and black or brown, that I will see when I take this connector apart. So I just gonna cut all of these right here. Okay, and so now when we took the ignition switch and its connectors out, we can go under the bonnet. Here we have the engine ECU, ABS ECU, and the K40 relay box. Here I'm missing 3 connectors, this one right here, this one, and this one. Those 3 are the engine harness, so those went out with the engine. Okay, so now with everything disconnected, there is usually one screw here that holds this in, but there isn't one in this car. So this is your ECU for the engine control, and this is what you will need. This is the ABS ECU, and you won't need this. And this is the K40 relay box. K40 because in the diagrams, in the wiring diagrams, this box is called K40, so I call it K40. And K40 relay box because it has some relays inside. Now we need to trace the ECU wires and K40 wires back a bit, and there are some going to the fuse box and such, so we just need to see where they are and where they are going. Also, this is the diagnostic port. I will also take this with the wiring so I can diagnose any errors or anything. Next I need to remove this plastic box, and it has 8mm screws on the bottom. I can see one is already unscrewed. Okay, that's 2. That's 3. and the fourth one. It also has one mount here, but it's just slip-on mount. And now I'll try to remove this, feed all the wires through. Okay, we won't be needing this. Okay, let's see now. So this is the ABS, this we don't need. K40, diagnostic port, ECU, K40. Okay, and we also have here this, this is a O2 sensor wire. We will need this also. I'll now disassemble this windshield wiper cover, and I will remove this plate right here, so I get access to all the wires in the middle below the windscreen wiper. Okay, I have removed some parts right here, so it is easier to see the wires. This is the TPS, throttle position sensor. So when you press the pedal, this cable pulls on this lever and the TPS reads whatever it reads. So we will need this. We will unplug it right here, and you can take this out, and when you disconnect the pedal you can take the whole cable, because the cable fits really well to the 190. We disconnect this, and it would be good to trace it back to the ECU. So I'll now take a few minutes and remove all the wires from here out, and also I'll free up some of this. Now that I've pulled this wiring out, I'm gonna get the scalpel and cut this tape off and separate the wiring, so I can take just these wires all the way through the harness and out here. Now I traced these two connectors, and most of the wires come back to these connectors, except this big one. It goes to the fuse box. It is the main power to the K40 relay. So we can cut it like this. I'll pull it out, and we have this red wire. It goes inside the car. Now maybe you can see when I pull it, I can see that the wires inside the car are moving. And now I just have to see which wire it is. Okay, it goes here, 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 here. It goes right here. And if I follow it a bit more to the back, I can see that it goes here, here, here. So all the way through here. Here it is, here, 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 up through that hole to here, into here, onto the positive on the battery. So I'm definitely sure that that is just a solid positive wire, and I can cut it, pull it out. Now these wires are connected to these connectors, so I'm good there. I'll just have to sort a bit more of this. After tracing this black-red wire, this black-red wire from the K40 connectors, I found this junction, and I traced one wire going to the right here to this O2 connector, so O2 sensor connector. The other one goes right here, here into this, and this is the module that was on the lower side of the brake booster. So we will not need this, so I'm sure I can cut this wire out. Let me do it right here. Cut. So that is one of them. Second, okay, I can see it here, here, here. Okay, this one, and this one goes further, so I will trace that a bit later. And that's what you pretty much do with every wire, so I will continue with that. So this is the connector from K40. I pulled it out through the firewall, and I traced these two red-blue and blue-red wires. They go right down here on the right side of the car into these plastic tunnels, and they go all the way in there, and then down right here into the fuel pump relay. And this other gray-yellow wire goes in the same tunnel, but turns right here over the shifter onto the left side of the car into this tunnel, and it joins right here, and then this wire goes into the fuse box, and the other end goes back here right over the shifter into this reverse switch. So when you put the car in reverse, it gets power. That tells me that it is a reverse signal of some sorts. So we probably don't need that, but yeah, I will cut these wires somewhere here. It leaves me with a half a meter of wire. I will also mark them so I know what they are. So like this, and cut here, and there we go. Another piece is out. So let's continue. Here is another interesting one. On this connector, I believe this is the connector, you have this brown purple wire, and it goes inside the car right here, and here it goes through this into this. Now this is a blind connector, it does not connect to anything, so that wire also has the same wire going into it, and that other wire goes the same path outside and then loops around and goes into this one, over the tunnel, right here into this switch right here. So it is a clutch switch. So on the newer cars this wire might be needed because you can't turn on the car when the clutch is not pushed in. So, but in these cars you don't have that, so you know what that means. This black, white, purplish wire goes inside the car and right through here into this I believe airbag module. Says airbag sensor, but yeah, it might be crash sensor. So we do not need that wire, so we will end its life and also mark it. Okay, now I have traced essentially all the wires from the connectors we need. Most of them go to each other and a few of them go to the diagnostic port, and I got two of them right here, and those are from this connector. And those two wires I have right here, and they go to the other side of the car. Now this purple one goes to the ignition switch, so when you turn the key to start position, the starter should engage, and all this wire needs is 12 volts when you want the starter to run. So we can cut that and mark it right here. Okay, this wire, cut that, get the tape, and I'll just write starter signal. This other wire, brown red, goes all the way around into there, and all the way out here into this guy. Now this is a gas vapor return, and this solenoid lets the vapor inside the intake when it needs to. So we will need this guy. I'll take this guy and pull out the wire and save it all. The other wire on it is black red one. It goes to the ECU. So we have the ignition switch and key, ECU, K40 relay box, TPS, and end cable, fuel vapor solenoid, and all these connectors right here for the K40 and the ECU. These two cables are the only thing that's holding us back right now. I'll take a small screwdriver, stab it in the middle here, like this, and I'll just try to unclip this and pull out this other half of the connector, like this. And come on, there we go. That's it. This part we don't need, so it can stay in the car. And there we go. So this is a wiring harness for the swap. And there you go. This is all the wiring you need from the donor car to run your engine in a different car or just on the ground. So we have the ignition switch with the key, ECU, K40, throttle position sensor, diagnostic port, O2 sensor connector, and the solenoid for gas vapors. Yeah, okay, Mr. Wasp, please don't consider me a threat. Oh, also, if you have a golden steering box in your car, make sure to keep track of it. This is the most expensive thing to buy because it's gold, right?